Hi, and welcome to Biztech's APAC Cybersecurity Show. Every week, we update the region on the latest threats and incidences to help you protect yourselves better. Now, today we have a special focus on the launch of the ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting, Cybersecurity and Information Center for Excellence. Now, here to tell us more about this is my regular co host, Benjamin Ang. He is the head of Cyber and Homeland Defense at the Center of Excellence for National Security at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies at the Nanyang Technological University out of Singapore. Now, with that mouthful, as always, Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. Good to be back.
Now, Ben, last week, Singapore's Minister for Defense, Mr. Ng Eng Hian, officially opened the ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting, Cybersecurity and Information Center for Excellence, or ACICE, at the Changi Command and Control Center, RSS Singapura, Changi Naval Base. Now, ACICE is the center that connects ASEAN countries and other partners to enhance multilateral cooperation in the defense sectorial against cyber attacks, disinformation, and misinformation through information sharing and capacity building. Break this down for us, Ben, and why this is really important.
Sure thing, Brian. Of course, there's lots of acronyms, and they've told me to call them ACIS. So you can actually pronounce the acronym. This is good news because this is the first time that we can see the defense sector coordinating. You can see the different militaries of ASEAN coming together to cooperate to deal with cyber attacks, which is really good because they should work together. And this is something that a threat that comes from anywhere and can affect more than one country in ASEAN.
And so here's the interesting thing as well with the defense, right? If you have spoofing, literally somebody can instigate conflict between two different countries.
Exactly. So if you're a cyber attacker, you want to cause trouble, say, between, let's say, Vietnam and the Philippines. So you take over a server in the Philippines, you launch an attack on Vietnamese military servers, and it looks like there's an attack from the Philippines on Vietnam. So it's really important for all of the ASEAN militaries to have good communications. And what better way to actually set up a center where they're in regular contact and actually doing work together?
Now, one of the things I suppose that brought this whole agenda up the level of importance is the fact that the ongoing war in Russia between Russia and Ukraine really brought the whole level of awareness of how important cyber warfare is to nation states.
Yes, Brian. In fact, there's two layers to that. First thing, we saw that before the actual invasion started and throughout the war, before every major offensive, the Russians have been launching cyber attacks on the Ukrainian systems. So clearly, cyber warfare is really a part of modern warfare now. But the second thing is that the Ukrainians have been able to fight off these attacks because of good cooperation with the European countries and with NATO. And they get information, updates, and threat sharing, which helps them to do much more than they could just as one country alone. And I think ASEAN member states are learning a lesson from that.
Now, one of the things is there is a precedent for this. It's not the first time that ASEAN has got together, because one of the things that Singapore, for example, hosts, another thing is the Information Fusion Center for Maritime Security. Now, also at Changi Naval Base, and apparently it has naval officers from 20 plus countries working side by side. Um, Tell us about this, and how did so many countries get involved in this?
Brand is another great example of cooperation in ASEAN because ASEAN has various centers that deal with other threats like counterterrorism and humanitarian aid and disaster recovery. So Maritime Security Center at the same building as ACIS actually has Navy officers from 20 plus countries sitting side by side and monitoring threats like pirates and being able to help to send out the response. And we've got officers from countries like Australia, Brunei, Cambodia, China, France, Canada, the US, Germany, of course, the ASEAN countries, and Peru and Korea. And, the fact that you can get all of these countries to sit side by side, including some of which don't always get along, I think it's a really good thing because they realize there's a common threat, which in the case of the maritime is pirates. And now in the same building, hopefully one day there'll be something similar with cyber officers sitting together side by side to deal with cyber threats.
Now, that's really on a macro level, on a G2G basis, from a governmental perspective. But one of the things the minister also talked about was really he brought it down to the basics, which is basically, and then that's something that will apply whether you're a company, whether you're an MNC, whether you're an SME, whether you're a country. And it's about a three-layer approach to cybersecurity. Could you then just give us a refresher in terms of what this is all about?
Sure thing, Brian. This is called the three-layer defense in depth. And the layers are physical, logical, and virtual. Physical meaning you secure your physical things like your routers, your devices, your servers. You don't let people just walk into your office and plug a USB thumb drive into something. Second one is the logical part, which is your data, your code, your software. And these basically to make sure that your software is secure, you're patching, you're using the updates quickly and making sure that your apps, you don't go and download apps which are dangerous. And the third layer is basically the administrative, where is your organization's policies and procedures, basically where you have guidance and training and proper data handling procedures so that people understand that they need to have a culture of security.
Now, on that note, Ben, thank you very much for your insights and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Now, this has been APAC Cybersecurity Show, and we've been speaking to Benjamin Ang, Head of Cyber and Homeland Defense at the Center of Excellence for National Security at NTU. I'm Brian Fernandez. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.